What is up, people of YouTube? I'm your host Vernon. This is Tule Springs. Let's fish that. Alright, ladies and gents, made my way back out to Floyd Lamb Park, and the last time I fished in this location I actually caught a couple of bluegill, and I was kind of miserable about the spot that I was in. Now, the idea behind that video was showing that even if you are in a bad spot, you can still catch fish. But it is very easy to see that and think that I think very negatively of this park, and that simply is not true. We need to remember that we're fishing in the middle of a desert, and the fact that we can find spots to fish in is a bonus already. And having a place like Floyd Lamb Park where you can find bass, bluegill, they stock it with catfish, they stock it with trout, it simply is a good place to fish. And for that reason, I'm going to go out there today. I'm going to see if we can find some fish. Now, I don't know if this microphone can pick it up, but every once in a while there's a weird sound in the tree above me. That is a little woodpecker or something. But that is to be expected when fishing this park. You have lots of birds around, lots of noises, but that is part of the charm of this place. So let's go find a spot and start fishing. Alright, so I've now had an hour to an hour and a half of constant getting hits on my Carp setup, but it's nothing big, it's nothing grabbing it and swimming off, it's just small little bounces and hits. Now that can be any sort of small fish, bluegill, maybe even bass, small carp, even tiny catfish. Any amount of small fish can give me that type of action where I'm seeing constantly getting hits. When I bring in the lures, it's completely clean. They clean off everything off the hooks. But that means that I need to constantly be rebaiting every once in a while. So I'm going to be rebaiting the carp one as well as the little catfish one. And I just quickly want to show you guys while I'm rebaiting what I'm using. So on my catfish bowl, I'm using a little Carolina rig with a circle hook, and I'm just putting a piece of chicken breast on there. This is garlic flavored chicken breast. I put it in some garlic, very potent smelling. Cast that out there. We wait for the catfish to find it. All right, and this one is the Carp setup. What that basically is a little method feeder, and I'm putting my pack bait on there. That's just some corn, jello, and oats. Make a little pack bait, put that on there. And this is simply to draw in fish, making a little feeding area, getting the fish all riled up and feeding. And on the hooks we have, on this one just some corn, and on this one corn and marshmallow. The general idea being, once they start feeding, they will grab onto these, and that's when we catch the fish. And that's the baits I'm using, casting it out, letting it soak in the water, waiting for the fish to find it. Now, if you want to see more about my Carp setup or anything like that, in the video description I'll always have links to my Carp setup, a video where I go in depth about it if you want to see more about that. But for now, let's get this in the water and start fishing again. Alright, our automatic hook setter went off. Let's see if there's a fish there. Yes, we do indeed have one. Now this is on the garlic chicken. Been watching the second rod, hoping to get a bite on that thing. It's been moving this entire time, and all of a sudden this rod went off. It doesn't look too big. I think we don't need the net. We can just boat flip him. Maybe on second thought, let's rather be safe, get the net, get that fish out of the water. Lots of power in this fish. He's not tired yet. But with that circle hook, he's not going to get off there quite easy. So let's get that hook out and have a look at this fish. Right, so there we are. This little fish, something hit him in the eye. It was not me. My hook was on the opposite side. Got him through the cheek. Got that out safely. But decent little stocker channel catfish. A good size to eat. Lots of good meat on them. And these stock catfish, they don't have as much toxins in them. So good to keep these little guys. I am however not keeping any fish today. So let's get this guy back to the water. Just gonna drop him in here. And off he goes. First little catfish for today with some garlic chicken. Gonna rebait it, get it back out there. Alright, so on the carp setup I've been getting quite a lot of small little hits. Now this is quite a problem. I think these are bluegill stealing my pack baits. But I'm gonna leave it out there, see if maybe something grabs one of the pieces of corn, sets off the alarm. If not, then I have to rebait constantly to try and keep baits in the water. If I keep getting little fish stealing the baits, maybe we need to move around, find a different spot somewhere where we don't have as much bluegill. And our automatic hook setter went off again. Just want to keep this fish away from the reeds there. Some kind of forcing him in. Doesn't feel that big. Indeed, a bit smaller channel catfish. Lovely silver colors on this one as he's splashing around in the water. Let's quickly get him out so we can get him off that hook. And there we are. Second little channel catfish landed for today. This one is croaking. So this is a tiny little male. Lovely colors on him and all the spots. Now be careful when handling the smaller catfish. Their barbs are still very sharp. The bigger catfish tend to have a little bit, the bigger catfish, their barbs are run down, whereas the tiny ones are rather sharp. So be careful not to get spined by them. But let's get this guy back to the water. And off he goes. Alright, ladies and gents, still have my carp setup out there. We're getting the odd little take on that, but nothing grabbing the corn. It's rather frustrating thinking that the carp aren't in this area. We just have some small fish. And on this side, I have my little catfish baits out there. Now, next to me, Robert was fishing out here. He caught a couple of catfish out here, but he's also casting in a lot further than I can get my baits out there. But we have the baits out there. We'll see if we get anything. Now, typically, this is midday right now. This is not a good time to find the catfish. They'll probably go hiding somewhere in the deep water or maybe under some cover. But we're going to soak the baits out there, and within a couple of hours, we'll see if the fishing picks up again. It's now been a couple of times where I reel in and we don't have any baits left. Now the weird thing, I'm not seeing anything pulling on the line. It's just when I reel in, there's no more baits on the hooks. So either we have a bunch of small fish stealing the baits, or maybe some terrapins. What it is, I don't know. Unless I can get this out further to find the catfish, I'm maybe need to move it closer, maybe try next to the reeds, see if there's any catfish hiding in the shade. It's gonna reel in. And once again we had something go for it, didn't get him hooked. I'm not thinking that was a carp, I think that was a little terrapin. That's the problem I've been having out there. Everything is stealing the baits. Now the question, do I rebait, cast again, or is that where we're gonna call it? Alright guys, once again I was not able to get some carp, but luckily we did get some catfish out there. So all in all, successful day. We got on some fish. That was the plan for today. Now I did have fun out there today. A lot of what you're not seeing is the constant rebaiting, constant little hits that I'm getting. Lots of action out there with fish constantly nibbling on my little baits. But like I said earlier in this video, I do believe these to be smaller fish. And I also did say it's a good idea to move around, try and find where the feeding fish are. You need to understand that somewhere in this pond there will be a place where the fish are feeding. And if you can get that spot, you'll sure to get some fish. But that does not mean there's not fish around. For instance, right underneath my little strike indicator, there was a big carp that breached the water, so the fish are in this area. The problem I had out there was finding a way to catch the fish. Now there can be a lot of reasons for not catching fish. A lot of people believe in stuff like the moon phases, that does affect the fish, and even something like the air pressure. But it can also be simple stuff like casting out too far or not casting out far enough, or simply not having the right baits. Now, for instance, with the little catfish, I caught them on chicken breast, but maybe try something like shrimp or hot dogs or night crawlers, you might get some more fish. And with the corn, maybe try something different. Try soaking the corn in something like Kool-Aid or some garlic or something, just to change it up and find what the fish are willing to eat. That is a very important part in fishing. We need to experiment and find what the fish want, and the only way to do that is by getting out here, trying different things, seeing what works. Alright, but I'm happy that I got on some fish out there today. Please do give me a little thumbs up for catching those fish at least. Feel free to ask any questions down below in the comments, and if you have not done so already, please consider subscribing to the channel. But that's going to do for this video. Thank you guys for following, and like always, I'll see you next time.